Well, hello, everyone. Good Monday evening to you. You are tuned in live to Bowling with the Fef. You may be on replay too, but this is a platform for you to share your unique bowling story. We broadcast live on YouTube every week. And if you're interested in finding out more about the show or interested in being a guest, let me know. We have a Facebook page. It's public. It's about 260 strong. Just search Bowling with the Fef on Facebook. And we also have an email, bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. That's your link to me. You can also direct message me on Facebook. And I'd be happy to talk to you about the show. We have had 36 episodes so far. It's running strong, and really glad that there's been some interest in finding out more about the bowling stories of bowlers of all skill levels, be it guys who compete in amateur competitions, guys who don't even bowl anymore, and professionals, ladies and men alike. And that being the case, we do have a professional as our guest tonight. In our 36th episode, we're bringing on Sean Rash from Montgomery, Illinois. However, tonight he's actually joining us from Houston, the site of the Luci doubles. Sean, welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, and thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. The title of this show is You Can't Win 'Em All, and a couple months ago you put up 2264 in the USBC Open Championships. Tell me about the three events, how you did, and what made everything work so right for you at that tournament.
Yeah, it's been almost 3 weeks to the day that I left Las Vegas and bowled the USBC Nationals. 9 games to bowl with some friends and see how it goes. I don't bowl that event to go out there and make a bunch of money. I go out there to have fun with my family and my friends normally. So it just so bees that I've bowled well enough to make some money in this event over the years. But it was a great number. Bowled really good. I used the 900 global honey badger intensity for all 9 games, 3 games in team up in the plaza, and then the 6 games in doubles and singles in the regular bowling center, where I've had a little bit of success in my career early on at the World Series there for so many years. So like I said, it's a great event for me to go compete in with family and friends more than anything. And then if I have some individual success that leads to some doubles success and team success, it's a bonus. But it was a great score, and unfortunately got beat on the last day.
Yeah. Is that the deal where you were keeping track? Were you watching the standings up until the end, or is that something where you just say, okay, I'm done, let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah, so back in 2003, when my partner Derek Sapp and I won an Eagle together so many moons ago, and we bowled 1540 bird, thankfully because of his 857. We watched the scoreboard quite a bit because people would always, text us or whatnot. But when I bowled my score, 3 weeks ago, I was busy for the next 12 days of the event. I went straight to junior gold for registration for the weekend. The next weekend, I had a friend's wedding that I was in. And I honestly did not pay attention to scores until the Saturday, Sunday at the final weekend. And I only paid attention because someone told me that Chris Vi bowled 289 game 1 and 250 game 2 or whatever it was, and he was on a big score set. And so at the end of the night Saturday, I checked in and saw he bowled 820, and I was like, my goodness, that was a lot. Of course, on Sunday, spending time with the family, trying to prepare to leave to go on the road for the summer tour, he wasn't bowling until that night, and I even completely lost track of it. We had a family outing that afternoon and a bunch of friends over. And about 8:30 at night Central Time, I started getting text messages from everyone. Hey, he's bowled 250, he bowled 210. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I might as well start watching. I probably was talking to a handful of people of, is he bowling good? Is he bowling bad? And I said, look, if it happens, it happens. If he beats me, he beats me. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I put up a great number that would win just about any other year. And, end of the day, I'm going to look back on it and say, I bowled really good. I'm really proud of what I did. Hats off to Chris Vi for bowling just a tad better. Score-wise, he beat me by 30-something pins or whatnot. And congratulations. I'll say it here on the air, and I don't know how many people know this, but I called him, hours after he beat me, congratulated him and said, nicely done. Because it's hard to bowl 2,300. It's hard to bowl 2,200, if not 2,100 at the USBC Championships. So, congratulations to him and to all the other winners that won an Eagle this year in all the divisions. Something to be proud of and a great thing to add to your resume. Thankfully, I have one already, and maybe one day I'll have another one. But like I said, congratulations to Chris on a great score. I'm going to look back at it as a great accomplishment for myself and my own right. And when the checks come out here in a few weeks, I'll be pretty happy with what I made.
Yeah, absolutely. How'd you like bowling doubles with Rory Clark this year?
Yeah, talk about a new experience for me. Almost flashback to when I first started and I got asked to bowl with Derek Sapp, who had started bowling for money a little bit, was basically one of the best bowlers in college bowling. And I tried telling Tom, his father, that, hey, this is an opportunity for him to learn as much as possible. And it wasn't just from me. It was more from Marshall Holman, who we got to cross doubles with as well. And I remember taking a video on my phone of Marshall throwing shots and pictures just because the guy's a living legend. Even though he hasn't competed on the PBA Tour for over 20 years or just around 20 years, that's who you really want to listen to and follow and just see how he goes about his business. And, kind of passing the torch on a little bit. I'm only 38, going to be 39 soon, but, hopefully Rory enjoyed the experience and learned as much as possible because we won't be able to bowl together next year as he's going into college there in Wisconsin. But like I said, just being around Marshall and some other guys on our squad, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Marshall has a great bowling story too. He's been one of our previous guests. If you're interested, look down the page. You'll find his story as well. You're in Houston, as you said. The Striking Against Breast Cancer Mixed Doubles is coming up later this week, the Luci as it's commonly known. Your partner is Missy Parkin, and I asked Missy about bowling the event with you earlier in the weekend, and she mentioned that she's known you since you were both 14 years old. Yeah. And that's something I didn't know. She said she's competed against you in college. You guys have been on Team USA together, and you've watched each other's successes at the professional level. What is that friendship like for you?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. Jesus, 14 years old, I would have been, where would we have met? We would have met at probably the World Junior Team Challenge or the Las Vegas, Christmas events is when I started flying down from Alaska to bowl these things and meeting all these unbelievable, talented players, male and female. And Missy and I, like she said, we competed against each other in college. The one year she was Player of the Year at the Collegiate National Championships. They should have made the show. It was actually Wichita State that beat them to get to the show in 2003, where she just dominated and basically got her team to the Final Four. Junior and adult Team USA, we've traveled all over the world together in international events. Like she said, we've watched each other succeed on and off the lanes. We've watched our families grow. She's got a young boy, DJ, who she's bringing out here in a couple of days. And, I have 3 beautiful little girls, and we've all been able to interact in the past and looking forward to moving forward, of course, past COVID. But just a great person, her and her husband both. I don't know how they live in California, but God bless them. They just jumped into a new endeavor with a bowling center here recently, and couldn't be more happy for the two of them and their family with everything that they're going through and doing right now out there in the western side of the states and promoting the sport of bowling.
Sure. How do you end up getting paired up for that? Is that something where you ask her, she says yes, and you go, or vice versa? Or is there something else to, who you end up bowling with at the Luci?
Yeah, Missy bowled with Dave Wadka and someone else out here for a while. I actually bowled with Liz Johnson for about a decade, and it was just one of those things that Liz and I looked at each other, and she called me and said, hey, I think we need to change. And I said, yeah, we're just not clicking. And we'd had a lot of success. We'd finished second, third, 8th, 9th, 4th, 2nd. But for a couple years in a row, we had missed. Not sure exactly what it was, but we just weren't clicking. And so both Missy and I didn't have a partner. And I said, hey, do you want to bowl together next year? She's like, yeah, absolutely. And it was just one of those kind of things. We both were looking for a new partner. And it's an event that we both wanted to bowl, no matter who we bowl with, to support the cause. If you win this event, it's great. The title, the money, the points, all that, stuff that comes with it, the trophies. But what Donna Connors does for this event and raising money for breast cancer is the number one reason that I'm here this week more than anything.
Yeah, it's a great cause, a cause that's, close to my heart personally too. And it's great to hear that. When you guys are either preparing for this or in the heat of the event, how would you say you make each other better on the lanes?
It's all about positive reinforcement. You can't dwell on the past. I look at a lot of other individual athletes, and you never see them talking about making bad shots and negativity and whatnot. I look at just, last weekend we bowled in Lubbock. I didn't bowl my greatest. It's not something you go and go, oh, wow, I can build off of that. But it's one of those, I look at the positives of that happened in that event. What I'm going to do this week here in Houston in practice over the next couple of days. I'm actually going to be practicing with Donna and Liz at their bowling center over the next couple of days, and even get in the Copperfield and prepare myself and stay positive. I'll go in the gym and work out, make sure my legs are ready, go to bed at a good time, eat good meals, and do the right things to be mentally prepared. But when you're bowling with your partner, it's just about being positive. If they make a bad shot and they, have an open frame, be like, hey, I got your back. And, if they're stringing them along, you keep giving them positive reinforcement about great shots and, reading the ball reaction right and reading the lanes right and doing the right things and paying attention of who you're following and everything else, and gathering as much information as possible from the squads in front of you if you're, not in the early squads. And, it's a long weekend. 4 squads, 160 teams, and a lot of great talented players here. So you want to be prepared. You don't want to jump too far ahead of things as well. And, whatever happens.
Sure. As this event is going on, simultaneously, the Summer Olympics is going on in Tokyo, which has brought up a lot of, we'll say, feelings about bowling. A lot of folks think bowling is long past due to be an Olympic sport. And, now in this age of social media, we're all kind of weighing in. I noticed that you mentioned bowling on social as well in regard to being an Olympic sport. The commissioner also said, bowlers should be marching in with other athletes, and they will one day. What do you think it's going to take to make bowling an Olympic sport?
Man, there's so many things that I could say that I don't know if I want to say on record or in the public. A lot of people above me need to get their egos out of the way, and figure it out, come together as one. We've tried the money route, we've tried the begging route, we've tried it all. Money's definitely a big issue. The popularity in the sport, how you get people involved, viewership, TV ratings. We can't fit, somebody mentioned we can't fit 70,000 people in an arena like you can in football and basketball and baseball and stuff like that. But we have so many supporters around the world, and it's everywhere. It's, the number one participating sport in the United States. You got professional organizations all over the world, in Korea and Japan, here in the United States as well. And there's just so much that needs to go into it. And, the Olympic Committee has their own agendas too, right? Of what they think is right, what they think is wrong, what the youth level is like. One of the reasons they say we didn't get in Japan was the youth movement, getting people involved and whatnot. And again, like I said, it's above my pay grade. It's, a lot of egos getting out of the way to get to one common goal. End of the day, my job at my level now is to continue to be one of the best in the world on and off the lanes, promote the sport the best that I can in any fashion, whether it's coaching or competing. And, hopefully in my lifetime, we'll see bowling in the Olympics. I personally don't see it anytime soon, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but they already have a bunch of sports in there. And for us to get in there, one would have to leave. So those are a lot of tough conversations that, like I said, powers above me that they have. And I wish our sport the best, and I hope we get there one day, because I think it would help us financially and sponsors and ratings and everything else. But we've had a pretty good uprising over the last couple of years with the PBA. Right before Bolero bought the PBA, we were on a big upswing. Things have definitely stayed on that upswing with the purchase of Bolero, and things have been great for the sport of bowling at the highest level, at least on the PBA Tour. So I'm looking forward to many more years out here on things that are going well.
Sure. Best case scenario in that, let's say for some reason bowling gets into the Olympics in time for the next summer games or two. Is that something you could see yourself looking into, at least bowling in the Olympics?
Yeah, I would definitely compete and try to get there. Unfortunately, one of the things that our team process has issues with is the selection committee and favorites and everything else, and how you compete and how you earn your way on the team and who gets to travel and everything else. And that's been an issue for a long time, not just now. It's been there for years. And I can say that because I'm currently not on the team. I said that when I was on the team. So it's a tough call, because you're always trying to put the right team together, personalities that match together, players that compete together, well together, both male and female, young and old. And at the same time, I also realized that there's 4 or 5 guys that are under the age of 30 right now are the top 4 or 5 players in the world as well, with Kyle Troop and Chris Vi that we just talked about, and EJ Tackett and Anthony Simonson. And then you got the next group, about 5-6 years older than them, that wouldn't mind being in that group and could compete just fine. So, Marshall Kent and AJ Johnson and a couple other guys, that there's plenty of guys that would love to be able to be a part of that team. But how you figure out who competes on that team would be really, really difficult. It would have to, I don't even know how you would do it, to be honest.
Sure. So you're on the show, and it may not be a direct result of this, but Andy Mills, back in episode 6, challenged you to be on the show. And I want to show you this video. I think you may have seen it once before, just to kind of get the full scope of that challenge.
I'm going to challenge Sean Rash. Since you got AJ Johnson last week. Sean and I have been kind of going back and forth on Facebook. I don't know if a lot of people have been paying attention to it. I kind of threw a jab at him at the Hall of Fame weekend by listing one of my accomplishments was beating Sean during one game of qualifying the one time I bowled the Masters. And he made it way farther than I did. We both made the cut, but he made it way farther than I did. Okay. Yeah, but he just keeps razzing me on Facebook, so I'm going to call him out here.
In those early days, I mean, we were in black and white, and now we've upgraded to a color image for you all. But now's your chance to respond. What do you have to say to Mr. Mills?
Well, Andy knows that he's always going to be the second best bowler in the state of Wisconsin. So, being the second best bowler to me too at the Masters that one year. But he's a great guy, great competitor, loves to have a good time. Very unique competitor for sure. But man, is he a fun guy to be around? Yeah,
absolutely. It was great to have him on this show, and glad we finally caught up with you like you wanted all along. So, obviously the focus of our show is your bowling story, and it's got to start somewhere, somehow. So when, where, and why did you get into the sport of bowling originally?
Yeah, so I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. I moved there when I was about 6 months old. My parents went that way. It's just something that Mom and Dad did for fun on Friday nights. My older brother also bowled a little bit as a kid. As I got older, it became something our entire family did on Saturday mornings for my brother and I. And then I would go to the bowling center every day. My dad would go, which would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays. He would bowl the men's league on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the mixed league Friday with Mom. And I literally was there almost 7 days a week, it seemed like, after I turned about 12, 13 years old. I was washing bowling pins for free games, shoveling the sidewalks to be able to bowl as well. And I did everything you could think of in the bowling center but run the cash register as a kid. I started in the pro shop at about 12 years old, polishing bowling balls for a couple bucks a ball, and during all the tournaments and the weekends. And I used to practice with basically the best bowlers in Alaska on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday night. A guy named Ron Moore lived there for a long time and competed on Tuesday and Wednesdays against my dad's team. And another guy named Jeff O'Neill and Ronnie Marshall, Walter Harmon. I mean, there's a few others too, but I just wanted to be like them and bowl and strike and hook the bowling ball. And I started bowling Sunday nights with Dad in a junior adult league, and it kept me off the streets. It was something for me to do. It was something relatively cheap. It wasn't real expensive. It was indoors, so the weather is always pretty consistent when it's indoors. So that was a bonus as well. And I didn't know how to skate, so I wasn't a hockey player. I played baseball for about 4 or 5 months of summer up there. It was pretty good, but started earning some scholarship money as a kid and decided to go the bowling route with college instead of the baseball route. So, I got into the sport because of Mom and Dad, and can still say that proudly they bowl on Thursday afternoons together at Parkside Lanes, where I practice at in Aurora, Illinois. And, they're just a couple of minutes down the road from me. So still a family sport. My oldest daughter just got into it this summer, bowling a summer league with her grandfather and who else? Her uncle and a cousin. And it's fun to see the next generation of my family starting to bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. In those early days, who you talked about some of the names of the guys that you looked up to. Did you have a coach or coaches that really helped, set you on the right path as far as your junior career in bowling was concerned?
That's a hard question to answer because, what's the right path and what's the right coach in the YABA days, even the junior days now of USBC, what are coaches supposed to do for youth players? And I look at the coaches I had a guy named Larry Scammahorn, Robin, Pat G, and then a couple more that I unfortunately can't remember their names, but they were more like second parents and babysitters and guardians to make sure we were doing the right things, not goofing around and enjoying the sport. Were they coaches? Yeah, stand here, hold the ball this way, try to walk straight, have good balance, but they were also there to make sure we were doing the things the right way. And like I said, not goofing around and throwing bowling balls backwards and being, irradical. So just great people. My mom still talks to Pat G and Mary Ann frequently through Facebook and phone calls. I haven't talked to Robin or Larry in quite some time, but I do know they still are around, and I'll see a comment from them here and there on Facebook. So, and then my mom and dad have always been my coaches and my heroes, right? So, always giving me the positive reinforcement. If I do something wrong or was doing something bad as a kid, they would try to not say it in a negative way to where I would get discouraged to do it again. They would say it in a positive way to want me to go do it again. That's one of the tough things with me now being a father and telling my daughter, hey, you're doing great. You're doing the best that you can, and I'm proud of you, instead of, oh, you're doing it wrong, I wish you would do it this way, because then they get upset and they want to quit. And I don't want that to happen. So those are the people that have kind of started me along my career. And then once I got to college, of course, Gordon Vatican and Mark Lewis were my two coaches at Wichita State. And I've had some unbelievable coaches through junior and Team USA and out here on tour.
Sure. Was there a point when you were a junior that, something told you, hey, I can compete with the best in Anchorage or Alaska or even the nation? Was there some reason that you decided that tournament bowling was for you and you'd be successful at it?
It probably was about 12, 13 years old. I averaged 230 when I was 13 years old. I was the high average in the state, male, female, adult, young, youth, you name it. Granted, I know it's completely different playing fields. 3-game league with a bunch of kids compared to 3-game league with 5 men on the lanes. Way different. The lanes break down different, but it was quite the accomplishment. I thought I had won the Coca-Cola National Championships 4 out of 5 years in a row, 3 in a row when I was 13, 14, and 15. And my first event ever was basically at the NKC Pro Bowl in Kansas City. It was my first national event, and then I bowled junior gold and everything else. But just those were the ones that kind of said, "Oh, you're good enough." And I remember bowling my first one at NKC and got my face beat in. My partner and I didn't bowl very good, and we didn't even make the cut. And then even my first year at Coca-Cola in Columbus, I was terrible. I mean, I thought I was this big shot. I averaged, big shoulders out. I averaged 230. Well, I found out real quick that everybody averaged 230 because I was bowling against, 17, 18, 20-year-olds at the same time. And, I came back the second year, and it was a little better in Memphis. And then my third year, I came back and actually here in Houston, Texas, and dominated the event, not to unfortunately lose in the final match in the stepladder against a guy named Gareth from South Africa. So, it's just one of those things. You learn and you live, right? Everything you do, you're learning from it. Hopefully you're doing the right things that you do from it and move forward.
Sure. At some point, you are in high school at a high school called AJ Diamond. It currently lists bowling on its rundown of winter sports. Mm-hmm. Did you have an opportunity to bowl on a high school team while you were there?
I did not. They actually started their program the year after I left and graduated. So the first season they had was 2000, 2001, and I want to say they won that year. We had some really good bowlers at Diamond High. We called it Diamond High, not AJ Diamond High, but and they bowled at Jewel Lake Bowl where I grew up. And then, they competed against players that bowled at Center Bowl, which was another center that I bowled at quite a bit too. So, but my home center was Jewel Lake, just down the road from AJ Diamond High, my high school. I could look out this window and basically see it from my house. So it was a perfect opportunity to go to school, and 3 or 4 blocks down the road, I could see the bowling center and bicycle down there and practice almost every day.
Yeah. So at some point, you either seek out Wichita or Wichita seeks you out. Which one was it, and how did that work? How did you end up becoming a Shocker?
I think it was kind of a combination of both. I'd met the coaches at the Coca-Cola National Championships here in Houston in '98. Then at the Junior Gold Championships in Reno, I saw them there as well. Then the following year in '99, we were bowling in Florida, and I had basically met every college you could meet, all the coaches. One of Wichita's, so to say, rivals coaches told me I wasn't good enough for them, so I basically said, "All right, screw that." And Wichita was at the top of the list anyway, and it basically just reassured that Wichita was where I wanted to go. So my dad and I made a trip down there in early 2000 to watch the Collegiate National Finals. I got to meet some of the players and hang out with the coaches, see the campus. And then I ended up driving down to Wichita in middle of August, right before school started.
Okay. So obviously you had success at Wichita. What did they teach you there that maybe stuck with you, either in your collegiate career or beyond?
Well, they definitely taught me how to be a team player, because it was a shock quite a bit. We're an individual sport, but when you're in college and junior and adult Team USA, you got to shut off the individual part and try to be a teammate. My first year was very tough. I really wanted to give up after basically the first semester and go play baseball. I didn't think I was competing enough. I thought I was better than I was. And I learned the hard way I wasn't as good as I thought I was, with just the comments of, hey, you need to work harder. This is some things that'll make you a better player. And the communication too, learning how to deal with, introverts and extroverts. As most people know, I'm pretty outgoing. So I would say I'm pretty much an extrovert. And then dealing with, players that aren't, everybody handles things completely different with how they prepare for school and how they prepare for a tournament, practice regimens and working out and all that other stuff. So Gordon and Mark taught me a lot about life, how to live on my own, how to, prepare, how to be a businessman, and basically everything I do to this day came from college. And a lot of it also came from my parents, of being organized and being a clean freak and doing the right things for the people, and having a big heart and everything else.
Would you say that you had a teammate or two that maybe you were closest to in college?
Yeah, I consider him my best friend still to this day. His name's Kevin Tabron. He works at Brunswick Bowling as a sales rep. We went to school together. We competed against each other. He's actually from Colorado as well. So we had that connection real quick, being Bronco fans, Rockies fans. He came, I want to say, the year after I got there. So I was already on the team. He didn't make the team the first year. And it was kind of one of those things that, we went to school together. We ate together. We practiced together. We eventually became teammates and best friends. And, he was in my wedding. I went to his wedding. He just had his second child. It just a great human being. His parents are unbelievable people as well. And we don't talk as much as we used to, of course, because of him living in Michigan and I live in Illinois now, and working for different companies as well now has changed some things, of course. The communication process of, we used to talk every day about our products and whatnot. So, but now, he's, like I said, he's got a wife and two beautiful boys. When we talk, and it's always good to hear from him.
Yeah. In 2001, you end up winning the Chuck Hall Star of Tomorrow Award, which is a pretty big thing in my opinion. And I'm sitting here in Wisconsin where, our state has only had one winner. Kansas has had a bunch. But what was that like for you to take that award in 01? Yeah,
pretty special that you get, picked out of all these high school seniors or college athletes to win this award. Back then it was like, here, apply for this and that. Do you know what you're actually doing? And I had no idea what this guy actually did for our sport and whatnot. And, to be in the same names as so many great athletes that have come through our programs, it's pretty special for sure.
Yeah. In 2003, you and the Shockers go to the ITC in Tulsa, and you end up winning the whole thing. Tell me about that experience, because, again, those of us who competed in the college game, maybe got a sniff of, sectionals if we were lucky, and maybe went to the ITCs, but not a lot of people get to experience a national championship.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier that, Missy was the MVP of the year that we won in 2003 in Tulsa. Our first 2 years was in Grand Rapids and Buffalo, and they were big disappointments because Wichita had been basically ranked number one almost the entire season. We were a great team with a lot of great players. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get it done those first 2 years. But then we found a way in Tulsa to get there. Won a couple matches, then we lost the match, and we had to win a couple more to get to the show. And then the show was just something that you'll never forget. We ended up beating Moorhead in the finals. A guy named Chris Hester and I still talk to this day about it, about some of the stuff that went on during that show. And I can still remember leaving the 1-2-4 spare, and everyone thought I was going to shoot straight at it, and I hooked at it just to barely make it to win the one game, and we forced the final, game 3 that we ended up bowling really good in to almost basically run away with it. But there were some big names on that show that in college at the time, at least.
Yeah. In Wichita, is it a disappointment if you don't win a national championship?
I think it's not just Wichita; it's a disappointment anywhere you go. But to have so many accolades that school has, they have 20 or 21 national championships now after winning just these past year, 2 of them. But I feel for all those coaches now after being there and seeing it, and then going to some national championships afterwards and representing our sport and watching the heartaches and also the celebrations from the good schools and even the schools that aren't supposed to be there. Sometimes you have those fairy tale schools. It's just like the NCAA championships for basketball, where the 16 or 15 or 14 seed wins a game or 2 and move forward. So, I think every year we walked in there saying, "Hey, we're going to win this year," and we won 1 of the 4 times I was there. So,
well, So you mentioned earlier about that doubles championship with Derek Sapp where he shot like 850. It looks like you had kind of a slow start in that series. What happened, and how did you get back on track?
Yeah, it was my first nationals. And really nervous more than anything. We bowled really good in team the night before, and I want to say we took the lead or just barely missed the lead. So pretty disappointed, of course. I think we just missed the lead that first year. And then I was like, well, I get to bowl with Derek. We're going to bowl great. And at the same time, I just turned adult 3 months prior in early 2003. I had finished 7th at the Masters as an amateur in January that year. And then we win. I don't know if we had bowled nationals before we won the college championships or vice versa, since so long ago now, but just nervous, bad ball reaction, bad ball choice, everything. And here's Derek striking at will. And he had a ton of success. I remember him looking at me and said, hey, how about you throw the Inferno? And so I changed balls, and I want to say I had the front 8 the second game, bowled 260, and then bowled 260 again the next game. And of course, Derek, shoots 300 and 270 again for 857, which is at the time was a record. I think now it's second or third high at the championships. But we put on a little bit of a show there for a couple of games. It was pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was the Junior Gold National that year too. You mentioned that, I believe, earlier as well. What was it like to win that one?
Yeah, so I won Junior Gold in 2002. To be on Junior Team USA for 2003. That was in Florida. It was a stepladder finals where I qualified second, so I had to beat someone to bowl Mike Ramaklis for the title, who I bowled against in college as well, at Central Missouri State. And the one thing I remember most about that show was I left the 810 the first frame and made it, and put my hands up in the air, and it was kind of like one of those. I knew I was going to win after I made that spare. And I just put, I probably put a big gut punch in him more than anything, because he had bowled so good all week. And but yeah, it was a pretty good ride there for my last year or so in youth bowling.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about bowling in the USBC Masters as an amateur, finishing 7th. What was it that it took, again, to show that you were ready to compete regularly at that level in PBA tournaments or in a major?
Just getting my face beat in and week out. Bowling TQRs my first year out of college. I bowled the Rabbits, bowled the Tour Trials, had zero luck there. Bowled the Rabbits, was alternate week in and week out. And then I finally was able to break through and win in 2006. And that gave me a ton of confidence moving forward. For basically since then, I've had a bunch of confidence that I was going to always be able to succeed out here on tour if I worked hard and kept doing the right things on and off the lanes. I've had some slumps, I've had some injuries and whatnot, but I've always been around. I feel like when I walk into a building or into an event still that my name is still mentioned, that I could win today or this week or next week or whatever it is. So I take a lot of pride in that I've worked hard to be where I'm at now. But to finally break through and win the Masters in 2007, you got to get lucky along the way. I bowled really good in qualifying and qualified, I want to say 32nd or 33rd. And my first match was against the defending champion, Doug Kent. And we bowled right behind the desk pair. It was like 51 and 2. It was one of the worst pairs in the building. And we bowled like 530, 520 or something. And then after that, my next match, I followed Walter Ray and someone else, and I bowled 820. So I went win-win real quick. I had my dad with me and was done for the day. I was in the round of 32 and, came back the next day and just started striking and bowled really good throughout the whole day. I bowled PBA champions throughout the whole deal. I bowled Jack Jarrett, Michael Haugen, PA, Steve Jaros, Walter Ray. I mean, you name them, I bowled every one of them.
Yeah.
And then later that day before the TV show, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, had showed up and surprised me with some friends of hers to watch me, compete in the final couple matches. And once she got there, it was pretty easy to let it go, right? You're bowling in front of your girlfriend and your dad and everything else. So it was pretty special to make that show in front of her and everything that transpired after that.
Yeah. I love watching that show because, I'm from Milwaukee. I'm a Brewers guy. And to have bowling at the stadium formerly known as Miller Park was just really cool, to see even, miles away on TV. And Missy, brought that up. She's known you since she was 14, and I got the wrong banner up there. But she said she vividly remembers, being on the field during that win. What was it like to kind of make that transition from bowling in, I'm guessing, a traditional center to that makeshift, deal on the baseball field?
Yeah, it was pretty unique for sure to be on the baseball stadium. But, I played baseball my whole life, so it was pretty fun to be back on the field. We got to do a practice run through it earlier in the day. But at the same time, I had bowled in a stadiums type setting before. I bowled the Youth Masters, Team Masters, or whatever it was at the Battle of Little Creek in 2002 or 3. So I had some experience with that outing and setting. That was also the week that we announced the Dream Team for Team USA that I was a part of with Walter and Parker and Barnes and Tommy. God, there was like 7 or 8 of us. So it was like everyone was there. The male team, the women's team, 4,500 people in the stands. It was pretty special, but it was one of those things that I was the number 1 seed, and my ball rep at the time, Rick Benoit, said, just enjoy the moment, have fun, and what happens, happens. We went through our practice session, and we knew scores were going to be extremely high. They played a lot different than they did at the bowling center. We went from a somewhat sport pattern to pretty much a house pattern. And it came down to, I got 2 lucky hits. I went Brooklyn and left a 4-pin where, unfortunately, Jaros left a couple flat 10s and a 4-pin, and I won 260 to 240. So, I won't ever forget the moment, and the first guy I hugged was my best friend, Kevin Tabron, who was the foul line judge, who worked for the PBA at the time.
Yeah. And I remember you kind of jumping into the crowd to get to your dad.
Yeah, and I won't forget that either, because I jumped in and hugged my dad and completely ignored my girlfriend. So I get that one all the time.
No, but a cool moment despite that. I mean, you go on, that was a historic thing too, because not only is it your first major, but you're on this streak of winning on TV. What's going through your mind as you keep, going on these shows and coming out on the right side of things?
I was having more fun than anybody, being young, not a whole lot of expenses or responsibilities, and I'm making money and living life to the fullest, where a lot of people this was their job, and they're, trying to pay their bills and everything else. And that's now what I'm going through, where all these kids have, 0 responsibilities and just free falling, throwing it, right? Where I'm trying to worry about my kids at home and how do I pay a mortgage and everything now. So it's full circle, but yeah, I had a hell of a run there to start my career, and winning my first 4 shows, and then unfortunately I lost my 5th one against Norm Duke in Wichita, Kansas the next year, which is a heartbreaker, because I feel like I out-bowled him pretty much the entire show. But a solid 9 in the 7-10 said otherwise.
Is there, if you could go back, and it could be an earlier show like you talked about, or maybe something more recent, is there one that if you had the option to get one back, to be able to bowl it over again, which one would you pick?
There's definitely more than one. I've been very fortunate. I'm one of the few guys that have bowled for the title in every major. I left the 4-9 against Scott Norton in Detroit to lose the Players Championship. The World Championship, I made the show 4 or 5 years in a row in Vegas. A chop 6-10 put me in the hole quickly against Dom in 2013, the year I lost to Dom. I left a couple of 7-pins back-to-back. I led the World Championships one year by 300 or 400 pins and didn't get to bowl for the title because of the special TV pods that the PBA did that year. I got to the Final Four, but a 7-10 again ruined my chances in the round of 3, and then Oscar ended up beating Ryan Schaefer that year. The U.S. Open stings a little bit, losing to Frankie in North Carolina just a couple years ago, because how the show went on, they were impossible already, but how the lanes broke down, and then to have a guy throw the front 5 at me that nobody anticipated 220. I mean, we're watching practice and everything, and I basically said to myself, if I bowl 190, I win this title pretty easily, because 190 had won the first 2 matches already, or 3 matches. There's always one that comes back and forth, the World Championships or the U.S. Open. But at the end of the day, none of them really say, okay, I really have to have this one back. I've had a pretty good career. I could, retire tomorrow and go, I've done just about everything I could do in my career. I'd like to get to 25 titles, maybe 30 if I'm lucky. Got to get to 20 first, so I'm 4 away from that. I'd love to be in the conversation for Player of the Year again. Got to work harder and make more shows, and I'd love to win, the rest of the majors. And I've had success in every single one of them. It's just a matter of doing the right things to get myself in that position again.
Are knuckleheads like me who keep on bringing up the 2011 Geico Team Challenge kind of annoying to you these days?
Yeah, just about everybody brings it up because it's one of the most talked about things that's ever happened in our industry, especially on television. They got brought up 3 times last weekend, just being in Lubbock and whatnot. It'll get brought up this weekend. It is what it is. Something happened, and it's over with. It's been a decade. It is what it is.
Yeah. It seemed like after that, and maybe some time had passed, but it seemed like everybody used the same water bottle. Is that something the PBA maybe came to you and said, what do you prefer, or did they just implement something like that?
No, they just figured out that what we were doing before wasn't working. It wasn't the right thing. So that's why we have water bottles on television now, and to get rid of some stuff. And if you look at what happened this year, or was it last year, that Dick Allen basically broke and right in the middle of Tom Smallwood at the Players, I think it was the Players Championship. Talk about a turnaround of events, where Dick goes up and basically runs the ladder and then loses to Kyle, where he had no chance to beat Smalls, and it just changed the momentum real quick. So, but that was a legit accident.
Yeah, and Smallwood said as much on our show. We talked about that about a couple months after it happened, maybe a little more than that, but he thought so too. And it's it seems odd that that people would think that somebody would do something like that on purpose. I would assume though that you take every advantage you can get in the course of a big game, a big match on TV like that.
Yeah, you're always looking for advantages when we're on television, and you want to take advantage of the opportunities that you get. So if somebody misses a spare, like I have many times, and many players have missed spares, normally you see the opponent take full advantage. Ironically enough, talking about Dick Allen in Lubbock, it happened, 2 or 3 times ago we were there where I missed a 10-pin, and what did he do? He went up and he doubled and got 8 to win the title. And is it luck? Yeah, he got lucky. He'll be the first to admit it. But at the end of the day, he got up there and he made 2 shots that needed to strike, and they did. And then he needed enough to win, and he did. So he took full advantage of the opportunity he was given. So,
sure. I understand that you guys are essentially competing, and when it comes down to it, the guy across from you is trying to take your money, and you to that guy. So when Belmo was on a live stream on Saturday night, I asked him in the chat, how are you and Sean nowadays? What's, like when you run into each other on tour, do you get along? He didn't answer, and there were a lot of questions being thrown at him. But what's it like for you guys nowadays? Are you cordial? Do you, maybe you weren't friends before all that happened?
Yeah, we're cordial. Look, at the end of the day, my job, his job, and anybody on the PBA Tour, PWBA Tour is to promote the sport and do the right things on and off the lanes. And if we screw up and do something wrong, we got to own up to it. Apologize if you need to apologize to somebody individually, quietly, on record, off record, whatever the hell it is. But we say hi to each other. We'll talk, whatever it is. We represent the same company, Mr. Chrisman, Storm, 900 Global, and Roto Grip. Again, so our job is to, if we show up at an event and we're supposed to work for them, is to do the best thing we can for our sport, and that's promote the sport. He hangs out with his people. I hang out with my people, my friends, and we have our different cliques and groups that we all associate with. End of the day, though, we could be best friends, and we're competing on the lanes against each other. No one's my best friend. My best friend is that money book, the checkbook, that the check that clears and goes into my bank account, and knocking down those pins and whatnot. There's only a handful of people who want to see you succeed. That's your wife and kids and your mom and dad and your brothers and sisters, and then your ball reps and the companies you represent. And then your friends will go, okay, if you beat me fair and square, they'll congratulate you. But, just for instance, this last weekend, very happy for Sean Maldonado winning, but I put on Facebook, I wanted Jake Peters to win more than anybody. And, the whole bowling world did, with what his family has gone through over the last few months with the loss of his wife and whatnot. Every single one of us was pulling for Jake Peters on that stepladder show yesterday.
Sure. You were a Brunswick guy for many, many years, and then you made the switch to 900 Global. Why did you do that? And what's it been like for you? I mean, obviously we keep seeing you on TV, so that's good. But, in your mind, what's it like for you to throw a different set of bowling balls?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a really good transition. It's been almost 19 months, almost 20 months now since I've made this changeover. It's nice to work for a company that has a lot of support for you and trust in you and believes in your ability to represent them on and off the lanes the right way. I've got some great ball reps with Sean Ryan and Timmy Mack and Jim Callahan and Matt Kabansky, our brand manager at 900 Global, that continue to push me and talk me into doing the right things. And just had a conversation today with Matt actually about some bowling balls coming up. And I practiced yesterday. I didn't make the cut Saturday night in Lubbock. And the first thing I did is I turned on some lanes and practiced after the qualifying was over. Talked to Sean and Jim about drilling some more balls. And then yesterday in between squads, as the semis and match play were going on, I practiced again, and they watched some bowling balls go down the lane and just communicated with things that I need to do better. So I'm ready for this week here in Houston and the next 3 weeks as we bowl the Summer Tour. So I'm grateful for the opportunity that Mr. Chrisman and ESPY have given me to represent 900 Global. And, I look forward to, I'm a loyal guy. I've always been loyal. Every company I've represented, I bleed them in and out. I do the right things on and off the lanes. There's some people that I don't trust anymore at other companies now, but that's fine. That's part of business. It's like other sports. When a lot of people asked what was going on, why it was happening with the change, and I tried to explain it like what Kevin Durant was going through, where my contract was coming to an end at Brunswick in 2019, and they were going to either offer me something or not offer me something. And there was a lot of rumors back and forth. But I became basically a free agent. And as a free agent in our sport, in any sport, you're supposed to take care of yourself. And you need to do what's right within the industry, and that is to find out what your value is at every company. So I finally reached out to other companies to see what my value was. And I found out that my value was better with where the direction I wanted to go and everything else. And I chose 900 Global, and they chose me. And I'm very, very happy that with what we've gone through and have done so far.
Yeah. You are one of few guys to have multiple 300s on television. What's it like to do that?
Well, it was pretty special when it was just me, but now there's three of us that have done it in national televised events. But there's actually a couple other guys that have done it too. So I'll give everyone some credit here. You know, Frankie shot his second one at me in the playoffs, which was pretty crappy of him to do. You know, Chris Vi has done it twice this year, which is extremely remarkable, but at the same time, not surprising. One of the things that's been going on the tour for a while is scores have been extremely high on television. But at the end of the day, you still got to make 12 great shots, and he's done that both times. And then Wes Malot's done it, and Ryan Schaefer, and then a guy named Chris Barnes has done it too. But one was here in the States and one was in Japan on a flow bowling event. So, yeah, it's pretty surreal that I was able to do it twice. You know, once on Wolf in a stadium setting in Oklahoma, and then the second time during the Tournament of Champions at Woodland Bowl was even more special to TSC. It probably cost me a title shooting 300 because I didn't bowl the best of games the next game against Jason, actually. So, you know, I think I'll do it again. If I get a couple more opportunities, I feel like I can string strikes just like anybody else can on television. Almost did it during the King of the Lanes thing last year, or whatever the challenge was in Florida, where I had the front 10 and left the 4-pin. So, yeah, hopefully I get an opportunity to become the first to do it for the third time.
Yeah. You mentioned the high scores that, of course, those of us sitting in our living rooms noticed, you know, as early as the Players Championship and then on, you know, through the tour season. I mean, if, you know, I'm just an amateur and I go to a tournament and if it's wide open and it's a carry contest, I'm kind of like, how do you guys see it? Is high scores a thing that's okay with you, or does it kind of rub you the wrong way?
I think that it's a mixture between a lot of us. I think the Players Championship rubbed a lot of players the wrong way because to get to the Players Championship shows, you average 207, 212, whatever, depending on what region you were in. You know, nobody was bowling 240, 250 at the Players Championship besides the one pattern, the last pattern that was the highest scoring of all four of them. So that one rubbed me the wrong way for sure. You know, the beginning of 2020, the first 4 or 5 weeks, it took 270 or 280 to win a title match. Scores were high. It rubbed players the wrong way because, you know, we weren't averaging 280 to get the television. We were averaging 230, 220, but those were some big scores. And, you know, everyone wants to know if higher scores brings more ratings. I don't think there's any proof to that. Does it bring excitement when you see a lot of strikes? Yeah, absolutely. You know, people love to see perfection in everything, whether it's, you know, it's the same thing in golf where you want to see the guy get as close as possible to the pin every time and make a birdie putt. Or basketball, you know, now basketball is all about 3-pointers, it seems like. So, you know, it's nice to see a variance in scoring pace, and I definitely think we're going to see that over the next 4 weeks out here on the Summer Tour. Scores were high in Lubbock, but scores are always high in Lubbock. The Luci is normally pretty low, and 2 of the next 3 places after that, Coldwater and Jonesboro, scores are typically pretty low as well. So really looking forward to the challenging Summer Tour ahead of me.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that, you know, Lubbock, you didn't bowl all that well, and you ended up finishing 57th. Our guest in episode 15, Jeff Riggles, wrote about the concept of squad inequity because of a now deleted, you know, Twitter post that Belmo had put up. I didn't see the Twitter post, but 11 of the top 12 finishers did bowl in the A squad after qualifying. You bowled in the B. So taking all that into account, what are your thoughts on that? And can there ever truly be squad equity?
No, there'll never be squad equity perfect. Even though the numbers turned out where it was 21 and 19 or 22 and 18, A and B. You know, I actually talked to Tom Clark a little bit through Facebook about this, where there was 13 titleists on A squad, but there was 11 on B. So that's kind of, you know, fair. But 4 or 5 of the titleists in B squad only have 1 title. There's not multiple titles and a lot of television experience and even tour experience. And then you get into more graphic and more details. Over 30 guys on A squad are full-time touring players. On B squad, there was less than 20. And that's where it really changes. And then you had the left-to-right issue where there was only 3 or 4 lefties on the first squad. There was 11 on the second squad. There was more seniors on the second squad where there was like 5 or 6. There was like 1 on the first squad. And then the females too, where I think there was no females on the first squad and there was 4 on the second squad. So you start breaking them down, and it doesn't come down to the sex thing or the age thing, but seniors and females rev rates are way lower than the typical male bowler in the 20 to 40 range, and also touring player. It's just proven facts. So the squad equity of Lubbock was, in my mind, a train wreck. But at the same time, we've seen this in Lubbock many years, many times, where A squad has dominated B squad. It happened a few years ago as well, where Bill and I bowled B squad. We were the only 2 in the top 16 that made the cut for match play, and there was only like 7 out of the 40 that made it. It was a ridiculous amount. It might have been a little bit more than that, but not much. It has something to do with, we practice. There's a pro-am on a house pattern. And then there's memory from that. And then also, bowling at 8:30 in the morning, it's colder. The building's colder. The lanes aren't as warm. And how players transition and break the lanes down. A squad broke the lanes down at 12:13. B squad broke the lanes down at 6:07, 8:09. A lot farther right with a lot less rev rate. So the pattern never developed. So once we got left game 5, 6, 7, 8, we didn't have something to throw it into. We were still looking for something. Where if you watch A squad game 6, 7, 8, they're throwing it over the gutter and they have something to throw it at and they have hold. So one of the things the PBA has done a really good job of on the national tour during television events and whatnot over the last few years is they've got rid of the AB and just made everything in one squad. Where if it's a 40-lane bowling center, it's 80 players max. And that's something that needs to probably start happening out here on the summer tour as well. The only event you can't do it at would be the Luci because you have so many squads and what the event's about. But Lubbock has 40 lanes. You could max it to 80 people. They had 122 entries. So you take the bottom 60 and make them bowl a TQR. We have requirements. Top 75 are in the event. So 5 people get in from a rabbit squad. Or maybe you make it 10 or 15, whatever the case is. And you do that over the next 3 weeks as well, where it'd be hard to do in Coldwater. They only have 12 lanes, so it's 36 a squad or 16 lanes. So they have 96 total, but Jonesboro could do it and Chesapeake could do it, where there is only one squad and you have to do a PTQ to get in. And if you don't get in, you don't get in. And if you get in, then you get to bowl with the big boys and see all the transitions and everything that happens. And you could actually make the event longer, more games, where it's not a crapshoot with what squad you pick.
Sure. So where do you go from here? Obviously, you bowl the Luci this weekend. There are other summer tour events. The commissioner told us he alluded to some kind of surprise event in October without much detail there. I don't know if he meant to say that or not, but whatever, he said it on the show. Tell me kind of your trajectory from this point forward.
Yeah, it's the next 4 weekends I'm on the road traveling on the summer tour. Hopefully it's a successful summer tour. Get my, battling against the best players in the world. There's people here from all over the world. And then whatever this special event is in October, maybe I'll get the phone call, maybe I won't. There's a lot of great players that could be involved in that. It could be anything too, though, right? It could be a PBA national title event. It could be some special event they put together that they've done in the past. Who knows? I just hope I get a phone call because I want to be a part of it. I still feel like I'm one of the best in the world where I should be involved in certain things and, help promote the game. And I feel like I do a good job of that with my charisma and everything else on television. So, but the rest of the year is just working out, spending time with my kids, bowling things, doing some coaching clinics and starting to travel. We just announced, actually Donna Connors and Pat and everyone just announced this clinic that we're going to do in Houston in October. I'm about to put it on my Facebook page tomorrow or Wednesday with Coach Fred Borden and Donna, Liz Johnson and I and Carol and Pat. So it's going to be a phenomenal clinic down here in October. So, but, and then just try to bowl whatever I can here and there around the country, and just enjoy some time with my family. So we'll wait for whatever is going to transpire in 2022. The deal with Fox and the PBA is they're working on the schedule as we speak. It's a tough thing to work on, as you got multiple sports that Fox is dealing with. And, once they announce it, they'll let everybody know, and we'll start prepping and preparing for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that clinic sounds incredible. A lot of big names. So if you're in the Houston area, yeah, I'd say check it out. And, maybe you should bring that to Wisconsin or the Twin Cities, because, when you talk about clinics, I can think of a guy who could use the help. We do have a couple comments here. Let me start out with Christine Rebstock, who was one of our previous guests. She mentioned that many years ago that she bowled you at the mini eliminator on the single elimination format and on a tough pattern, and that you schooled her big time. And it was nice to see you become a great champion on tour.
Man, that's many years ago. I kind of fairly remember the name. So yeah, the mini eliminator was a great event. Basically got my feet wet in bowling the amateur tournaments before I turned pro, and basically learned how to throw the money for the cheese basically back then. Yeah,
absolutely. Max Grabara, who I should probably put this up because he commented on our Facebook page that you're one of his favorites. He wants to know if it's harder to win now versus 10 years ago.
It's definitely different winning now than it was 10 years ago, because I'm older, and I've battled so many injuries since then. And 10 years ago, I was going through a little bit of a drought. I had missed, I'd made a bunch of shows but couldn't win. So, and there's so much more younger talent. There's now, I feel like the group of now is a lot different than the group when I came out with. There was only 5 or 6 of us when I came out, and now it seems like there's 10 to 15. So seems like it's doubled a little bit in talent age of strength of players, and but it's always hard to win. It's a crapshoot once you get to that final step ladder match, and everything has to fall your way.
Sure. He also wants to know how do you choose your arsenal, and I guess maybe I can tack on: is it different choosing an arsenal with this company than it was with Brunswick?
No, the choosing an arsenal is pretty much the same thing. It doesn't matter what company you represent. You're looking for a big ASIM, a medium ASIM, a skid flip ASIM, big symmetric, medium symmetric, low end symmetric, and your spare ball is your favorite. It's got to be in your bag. So, and then you always have your benchmark ball, which is pretty much your favorite bowling ball also. So, building arsenals, you basically build them off of what the lane pattern is, and go from there.
Do you ever throw urethane?
I've got one. Yeah, I've got one.
Okay, and also he wanted to know, how much fun is it bowling for Bruce City? How serious is it with the competition in that environment?
Yeah, so the first year at Bruce City, unfortunately there was no fans, so we didn't really get to be as rambunctious as we wanted to be. And I'm looking forward to when the PBA League gets announced and moves forward in 2022, and hopefully being a part of that team again. So it's just an unbelievable environment, especially if we go back to Bayside, which I'm anticipating we will at some point. But I really would love to be able to bowl in Milwaukee at the Wauwatosa location in front of our Milwaukee Bruce City Baller fans.
Yeah, that would be incredible for a guy like me, too, who would definitely look into driving those 4 hours down there to see you guys and the other PBA League folks compete. On our show, we do a segment called Off the Sheet, where we ask you to challenge somebody else in bowling to appear on our show. And skill level doesn't really matter. We cater to all skill levels. It's just somebody who's passionate about the sport and who has a unique bowling story to share. So, Sean Rash, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fev?
Can I challenge 2 guys?
Absolutely.
Let's challenge first Kyle Troop. Has he been on the show yet?
He has not. Nope.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to challenge him mostly because of he's the next face of our sport. He's got the love-hate relationship because of the clothes and his hair. The people hate that stuff, but the love part of, his dad was a Hall of Famer and champion. Kyle's on his way to being a Hall of Famer and a great champion. And like I said, I think he's the next face of our sport, and is going to be around for a while. He's really turned it on over the last couple of years. And then I mentioned this guy's name earlier, and I said this to you before we got on the show, is Jake Peters. The story that he's gone through is such a sad story, but what he's done to overcome some things and how he's dealing with his life and how his family has been so inspirational would touch a lot of people. Yeah,
absolutely. Kyle, Jake, if you happen to see this, I would love it if you would come on the show. bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com is my email address. You can also direct message me on Facebook. And if you're up for Sean's challenge, we would love to have you on the show. Our next live stream coming up Thursday, August 5th at 6 p.m. Central. Sean, thank you so much for the time, and best of luck at the Luci and beyond.
Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully you see some good results. Make sure to tune in to Flow this weekend. You'll be able to see so many great people. Check out Carol Norman's Pro Shop and find a way to donate to Striking Against Breast Cancer. Near and dear to my heart, as it is to so many people. But big shout out to Donna Connors and everything her group is doing for this event and putting on this weekend.
Fantastic cause. Is there a website or anything to go to for that, or is it just you?
Just check out Striking Against Breast Cancer page on Facebook. Is the only thing I could say. All the information, all the squad information is on there, and I'll be posting some stuff too about what squads we're in and practice and all that stuff over the next few days. Everything kicks off on Thursday afternoon with practice and so much more.
Fantastic. And he has the Sean Rash fan page on Facebook. If you haven't liked it yet, I hope you will, because he's got some great content up there. That's it for us until the 6th. Be just and fear not. We'll see you next time.
Take care.